Hi everyone, and welcome to the Scorpio August 2021 Spiritual Connection Reading. This is I Am Illuminated Tarot and Meaning-Based Spiritual Coaching Services. I am Lauren. Hi and welcome. So this is one of 3 connection readings I complete each month for each sign that are meant to help bring awareness to your unique internal authentic self and how that unique internal authentic self is needed in your external environment. So the first reading that I do is the self-connection reading, which focuses on bringing awareness to your unique internal authentic self. The second is this reading here, which is your spiritual connection reading, where we'll be taking a look at the energies of your unique internal authentic self and the energies of your external environment and any challenges that are popping up right now that are basically hindering you from being able to engage your unique internal authentic self with your external environment so that you can truly see and sense your place and purpose and to help be of service to the greater collective experience as well as heightening your experience of emotional fulfillment. And then the third and final reading is our love connection reading, and that's more of a kind of informal reading where we take a look at the general themes of love, including romantic love, and any additional kind of messages that want to come through for you and your sign for this month. All right, so Scorpio, we're going to get right into your reading here. We are going to take a look at your energy. So I'm going to pull a card here to see kind of what you guys are currently sitting with right now. Now keep in mind these messages are general. However, towards the end of the reading, I will pull cards for the Triad of Engagement, which is a coaching tool I've developed that focuses on utilizing the 3 principles of curiosity, courage, and contemplation to bring the messages of the general reading more into alignment with you so that you can help have some specific takeaway that is unique to yourself. All right. So the first card that we have that's coming up for your energy is the 6 of Wands. Now the 6 of Wands is a beautiful energy, and it's actually an energy, oops, just realized I have something there on the reading table. So the 6 of Wands is an energy that represents recognition by others for the actions that you've taken from a place of passion. It's a card that's represented by the energies of Leo in the tarot, which is very appropriate because we're still in Leo season right now. And what I'm getting intuitively here is that there's this quality with you, Scorpio, right now where you are sitting in a place to be recognized. And I have a feeling that you're waiting to be recognized. There's this quality here of maybe perhaps you have not received that recognition yet and are kind of sitting with this energy of wanting recognition. And I don't know, I'm just getting this feeling here from seeing the individual in this card. And I know it's hard to see. It's one of my favorite decks, but it's very, very small. He's kind of looking off into the distance. And there's this quality here of almost, it's interesting. There's almost this element that's coming through that I don't normally see in this card, but intuitively I'm picking up on that there's this element of being able to see a little further down the road for yourself and really wanting recognition for what you're building currently. So there's this element now of wanting recognition for what's going on, but kind of almost seeing the bigger picture for yourself and seeing what that recognition is going to look like. So now I'm going to pull a card for your external energy, and we're going to get a chance to see kind of what you're moving into, why Spirit is asking you to engage this energy and yourself right now authentically with your external environment. So we have the Justice card, and the Justice card is part of the major arcana in the tarot. It focuses on the concept of balance and blind justice, meaning that, sometimes we can feel that there is injustice happening or that there's a lack of balance, meaning that we don't seem to see the other side of the balance scale. And what this card really reminds us of and about is that we don't always understand everything in our external environment. And that's part of life. That's part of engaging openly with our external environment, is that we understand that really the only constant in life is change. And that in understanding that, there's so much beyond our control, so much beyond our knowledge. And we have to understand that we can't see everything. So there is this quality that's coming through in this card that perhaps you're almost looking for this balance. You're looking for this chance to really step into the element of, perhaps you guys have been working towards something and are kind of seeing long term what you would like to have that energy you've put out returned with. And I think what Spirit is asking you to engage now with your external environment is to be able to bring about that balance, is to be able to highlight what maybe feels a little off balance to you right now, and to say, no, actually, the more you engage with whatever you're sitting with right now and whatever you're kind of planning for your future, that's what's really going to engage with justice out here. That's what's going to help bring things into alignment so that you feel that energetic flow of balance. So now I'm going to pull some cards here for what I call the void. This is where we're going to take a look at potential challenges, blocks, maybe fears you're navigating. And then we'll get a chance to kind of work our way through to see how you can help navigate over and around these fears. Now, I call this the void, and I have a more detailed video in the description box below. There's a link to the visual discussion on the Triad of Engagement. And if you want to learn more about that and how the principles of curiosity, courage, and contemplation can help get you through some of these more difficult challenges to better able, for you to better able and more authentically connect with your external environment, that's down there for you to watch. But in the meantime, just a quick description of the void. The void is basically the space that we create. It's a protective barrier that we start to create when we're younger. So as we're moving from childhood into adulthood, each and every time we make the attempt to connect some unique internal, authentic part of ourselves with our external environment, there will be times when we will experience ridicule, hurt, failure. And each time that happens, what we can do, instead of just kind of realizing, okay, that part of myself maybe needs to be expressed a little differently, or just like riding a bike, that internal ability of mine needs to be tried again, we instead go ahead and put up a barrier between that part of ourself and our external environment, so that we almost end up hiding it, so that we can't get hurt again, or we can't get ridiculed again, or we can't fail again. And this can be at first maybe beneficial because you are not getting hurt, but where it can become detrimental is when we get older and we've been doing this for so long that we have so many hidden parts of ourselves that we're not engaging with the external environment out of fear, out of anxiety, out of hurt. And this is where we really get disengaged with that feeling of belonging and purpose, because we're not engaging anything of our internal authentic selves with the external environment. And this is where we can start to feel like, well, how come my external environment isn't reflecting what I want it to? How come no one sees me for the person I know I am? And that's why this is so important to become aware of as we get older, to help us kind of navigate over and around it. And that's really why I created the Triad of Engagement, which we'll discuss after we move through the cards and take a look at the challenges you guys are facing right now. So we have to start. I'm going to take a drink of water real fast here. I'm going to go over the cards actually. We have the 8 of Cups, the Fool, 6 of Wands, the Tower, and the Strength card. Now the 8 of Cups, this is your challenge card, your challenge position right here. And the 8 of Cups focuses on your emotions. So when I talk about the 4 different sides to our life experience, we have the emotional, we have the spiritual, we have the physical, and the mental. And the 8 of Cups really focuses on harnessing the awareness of our emotional aspect to our life experience. And what this card in the traditional tarot focuses on is understanding when there's a point in your life when it may look like you have quite a bit of, and in this picture it's a little different, the depiction, but in the traditional tarot it's when you have 8 full cups in front of you, which are cups and opportunities for emotional fulfillment. And in that moment, you are actually walking away from those cups with one of them in pursuit of the last 2 cups, which in the tarot then complete that cycle. And the 10th cup, the 9th cup is actually your kind of wish, your wish for emotional fulfillment. And then your 10th cup is that ultimate emotional fulfillment. And so there's this quality of the 8 of Cups that really focuses on having to make kind of that hard decision to walk away from what on paper and perhaps to others might seem like you're doing really great, that you have a lot to be happy for, you have a lot to be fulfilled by, and yet you're choosing to walk away. And that can be it's a hard energy to harness in general, but it can be a very liberating one. Now, where this can become a challenge is when we know we need to walk away from something and we are choosing not to. Where we're choosing to kind of get stuck in this. And this card kind of represents that, which is interesting. The actual depiction of this card for the specific deck is where we're sitting there kind of like looking at everything and we're feeling what this guy seems to be feeling, which is just kind of disappointment, looking at all that we have. And again, even though somebody might come in and say, oh my gosh, you have so much, why are you not happy? And there's this quality of where you're kind of sitting there saying, yeah, I mean, I guess you're right, but on some deep level, you know you're not. You know that there's more for you out there and that you're going to have to make that decision to walk away with faith to know that there's more for you out there. And that's hard. That's a really hard, challenging decision to make. And what I'm kind of feeling from this card is actually more of I'm trying to think of the card now. The 5 of Cups. And that's really kind of the scene that's coming through to me. And the 5 of Cups is one of basically just almost like sitting stuck crying over spilled milk, or stuck in regret, where you're looking at 3 cups that have spilled, not realizing that there's 2 full cups behind you. And that's kind of what I'm feeling here. There's this element of kind of getting stuck and seeing, well, look at all of this, even though it doesn't emotionally fulfill me in any way and I'm not experiencing happiness from it, I can't leave it. I can't leave it. Look how much I've accumulated, look how much I've worked towards. And there's this element of looking at everything with regret. Now, coming up directly after that is the Fool. And the Fool is a fresh start. It's not even the first card in the tarot. It's actually the 0 card in the tarot. So this is kind of that reset point. And Scorpio, I know from just your past readings over the past couple months that you guys are going through some massive changes, especially on the spiritual plane. And this is really depicting that you guys are going back to that reset, that 0 point field where anything and everything is possible and you get to make that fresh start. But you have to be able to walk away in order to make that fresh start. The Fool is depicted, now in this tarot deck, it's a little bit more theatrically shown, where it looks like a jester and he's kind of dancing towards the edge of a cliff. But in the traditional tarot, it's shown as an individual who's literally just carrying like a little knapsack on a stick, and he's going off into the great adventure, also about to kind of take this fool's leap off this cliff. But what it depicts is that he's left behind everything and he's starting with just a few small items. And that's really what Spirit's asking you to engage with right now, is to, on an and this isn't even just leaving behind physical things, because the Eight of Cups really speaks to the emotional side. This is about leaving behind that feeling of, but I worked so hard for all of this. And that emotional kind of fear that we have of, well, what's going to happen if I just walk away? Will I regret what I'm doing? Will I regret having to pick up and start again? And what Spirit's asking you to do is yes, because then right in the middle of your reading, which is the crux and which is the energy that you're facing and being asked to step into, is the Six of Wands, which is the same card as your energy here. So Spirit's really asking you to engage with that feeling of, this is what you're mastering right now. You're mastering having to walk away from basically, something that you probably did have to work, towards. I mean, we all go through these periods in our life where we work towards something and then we realize, ooh, maybe there's a little bit of a course correction. Or I thought this was going to fulfill me and it didn't. It doesn't mean that that was wasted time. Instead, what that means is that you are now realizing more about yourself. You're realizing more about what actually makes you happy, what actually fulfills you as an authentic, singular being. And that's what's going to give you the courage to step out and be able to start this new cycle, to start this new version of yourself, to be able to release all of this heavy emotional baggage and be able to go out with actually honoring yourself. That's what's really coming through for me here, is that there's this recognition of self for how far you've come, what you're truly capable of, and being able to say, you know what, I'm worth more than this. And I'm gonna, with faith, go out, take my cup, my true cup of what I feel emotionally fulfills me, of what I know is out there, and I'm gonna go take that cup and seek the 9th and 10th cup, because I'm worthy of that, because I'm worthy of better, I'm worthy of more. And that's what you're being asked to step into, and to be able to give yourself that recognition of, I'm worthy. I'm worthy of that action. I'm worthy of taking this journey. And others will see why I walked away. They're going to see how much more I'm capable of. Because then we have the Tower. And the Tower on the other side here is a difficult energy. It's an energy that denotes basically a little bit of having waited too long in this energy. It's almost where the Spirit has to come in and kind of knock down what we're in this, it's the actual Tower. Knock down what was built on a faulty foundation, so that we can kind of get that shake up to say, like, look, you haven't been moving, you haven't been making that decision. You need to. And since you didn't make it on your own, we're going to shake things up for you. And this can be difficult because, yes, this can happen on an internal level, but more usually for me, when I see this card and read this card is more a shakeup on your external, where it seems like change has just come in out of the blue. And this can look like getting a piece of news that suddenly changes your whole perspective on something, or getting, so to speak, getting let go from a place of work that you should have left a long time ago, or having a significant other leave you, or having just something in your external environment shake up something for you that then denotes a big change. And what I'm seeing here is, as you're stepping into this kind of Fool's energy and this Six of Wands recognition, that it's because you're going through this energy right now, the Tower, and then we have Strength. And again, this is more Leo energy. This is more tapping into that kind of lion-hearted, courageous core of ourselves. But the Strength card also denotes strength through grace. So really the kind of whole meaning behind the Strength card is understanding that acting from a place of courage doesn't mean having to forcefully take action. That oftentimes it's actually more courageous to sit back and disengage, or not join the fight when we feel like we might want to. And that holding ourselves back and understanding the power it takes and the courage it takes to do that, more than actually asserting our will on others or forcefully taking action, that's kind of the underlying energy of the Strength card. And so what I'm feeling here is that there's this element of really having to go through some external environmental shakeup. That this could have been the loss of a job, this could have been the loss of a relationship, this might be a change in job location, or just a change in something. This could be even where you all of a sudden you've always been living in this environment, and now that environment is changing. So now you're finding yourself in a new living dynamic or a new living environment that's very different. And yes, it's going to take a lot of strength this is kind of like the last part of this process here, is having that strength to not lament what's happening or blame others or blame the external environment, but instead to step into strength to realize this is within my best interest. I know what I'm capable of. I know that this tower had to fall, because it's almost like he's looking at this. And actually I kind of get that too here, that this is what you guys are seeing. You're seeing what in your life has not, and on some level, what has not been in your best interest. But you're ready and you're coming forward as this valiant, courageous individual. You're ready for it because you also understand your own self-worth. And you're starting to understand that. And you're starting to understand how much this is actually going to bring in for recognition as well in facing this. There is this quality here of that what you're having to go through now will be balanced out by you going through this with grace. And to realize also that engaging with spirit on this level of faith is going to, and that's what you're kind of being asked, is that this change is going to be a little intense, and you might have already gone through it, or you might be currently going through it, and that you're being asked to understand that this is actually what's bringing into balance for you all that you've gone through up to this point, which might have been painful. And you knew you had to walk away from it because what you were sitting with prior just didn't seem to be panning out. But because you've decided to step into this kind of new, fresh energy, and you are able to step up and meet the tower with kind of valiant courage to realize, okay, I'm left with a foundation. I am going to have faith that what got knocked down, whether that was an old job or a relationship or a way of living, that needed to be torn down. to shake me up out of this energy, to get me back into realizing my true potential, to honor that within myself, and that also this is going to bring into balance kind of what I feel I might have lost. And it's going to reap the recognition I deserve in meeting this challenge. Okay, so a lot of change, but change for the better. And I really do feel like this is that time where you're really starting to see for yourself, like, wow, look at what I've achieved for myself. And it's difficult and it was hard. And this is, a very lonely struggle. This is something that's very, I always see the Six of Wands as the returning hero, but he's alone. He's returning on his own, or her own. That there's this quality of, you went out and you did it yourself. You went out and had to overcome this. You went out and had to make the choice to start fresh. You are working through all of this on your own. And that deserves a lot of credit, a lot of internal recognition from yourself, and a lot of recognition eventually down the line from others. So kudos to you guys. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a card for curiosity, courage, and contemplation. We're going to engage the Triad of Engagement here to really ask ourselves, to engage with each of those principles, to bring some messages and some points and some questions that we can ask ourselves that will help make this very general reading a little more specific to you, to help kind of ask those questions that bring awareness to yourself, questions that only you can answer for yourself. So I'm going to pull an energy oracle card here for the principle of curiosity. And this is where we're going to get a chance to, in asking ourselves a question that we are going to have to answer for ourselves, to better kind of open ourselves up to the energy again of crossing this void, to connect with optimism and openness and receptivity towards your external environment again. So for the concept of curiosity, we have anxiety. And what I'm getting intuitively from this card, and what's interesting is that in the actual little description in the book that comes with this card, there is this element of, that discuss, that out this window you can see kind of the storm and there's lightning, but it's lightning up behind her. That the storm is moving and passing, but she may not notice that and may just focus on the storm, that part that she can see in front. And so there is this quality here of understanding that we may feel anxious in the moment going through this tower. This tower represents a storm out of this window. But what's coming through is that faith, that recognition, the knowledge now of how strong you are, and the realization that this is actually bringing into balance some aspect of your life that was out of balance. This tower moment was for your best interest. So let's say this was you losing a job. Well, that losing of that job was to help open you up to a new, better career path for yourself that was more in alignment. Or this could be a significant other leaving you, and perhaps you might have been in a long-term codependent relationship, or maybe you thought it was great, but now what Spirit's actually telling you is no, that it was not the best for you as a singular being. You were not allowed to be as authentic as you could be. So we're making room now for the next, the light behind you, for the next partner who's going to be that supportive person, who's going to allow you to really celebrate how far you've come, but also your authentic self. And that's how working with Spirit and being open and curious about what happens in our external environment, that quality of change where we can sit with anxiety about it and worry, or we can openly accept it and realize, no, this is all for my best interest. And me continuing to meet these challenges is what's going to continue to unlock the best parts of myself to keep working with them so that I can figure out really where I belong out here and what part of myself is really going to elevate some part of the collective of experience so that I can better be of service as well as I just decide to act as myself. So when we're looking at the concept of anxiety with curiosity, a question I would build in to help kind of take a look at this Eight of Cups is, what is your biggest fear and what you had to walk away from? So I'm going to repeat that. What is your biggest fear around what you had to walk away from, even though you know on some level you were not emotionally fulfilled by it? And is what you are walking away from, did it actually make you feel happy? So I'm going to repeat that part, the second part there again. Is what you were asked to walk away from, did it actually make you feel happy? And when we think about, why we would feel anxious about leaving something behind, I mean, this could be that fear, that quality of, well, I'm having to leave behind belongings or money or, security. But in reality, if that wasn't emotionally fulfilling to you, then it really holds no value. And so as we're starting to open ourselves up to what Spirit is trying to show you is in your best interest, then the third and final question is really taking that hard look and saying, well, okay, if that did not hold value for me, what will now? So let's say it was losing a job or there was some change in your workplace. And perhaps this can look like, I know we've all gotten into this place, and I could use this as an example because I've been there, where you're at a place for so long that you kind of turn that corner where all you do is complain about your job. You can no longer see the benefit of what you do. And when people ask you about how your job and your work is going, you say, ugh, I'm so over it. And all you do is complain. But it pays well, and it provides you with a sense of security. But maybe when you're looking at asking yourself this question of, well, what do I fear about leaving this? Well, maybe it's because you don't have a degree in anything else, and you don't have a degree at all, and you think, well, I lucked out with getting this job without a degree, but what am I going to do if I don't do this? Or the fear of, well, I might never be able to find another job that pays me this much. But then when you ask yourself the follow-up question of, well, why did it not work for you? Were you happy there? Most likely you're going to tell yourself no. And then you're going to have to ask yourself, well, what part of that was not working for you? And it could simply be that maybe the work environment had changed dramatically from when you were forced to kind of have to leave or have a change. It could be that what has started out as a passionate career, you don't care about anymore, because now you're more aware of some internal, authentic part of yourself that needs to be expressed. And at that time, you didn't know that. Or maybe it comes down to the fact that there's just no more room for growth and you weren't being challenged. And that's what Spirit's trying to ask you to step into, is to say, okay, you're worth more than this now. We need you to grow. And then that final question to ask yourself, to open yourself up, is, okay, if I'm not valuing this right now that I'm being asked to walk away from, what do I value now? What do I, as this unique internal singular being, what do I value? What do I value in a work environment? What do I value in being challenged by the work that I do? What do I value in a workplace? What do I feel my value is as far as monetary compensation? And this can help you start to build clarity around continuing to have strength to face this change. Now, granted, that's just one example. I mean, again, this can be based around relationships. This can be based around an actual change in location. There's so many things that can change in our lives, but that's an example of how to utilize curiosity to bring this message home to you, to make it unique to yourself, beneficial. All right, and now we're going to pull a Power of Surrender card for the concept of courage. And courage is where we get a chance to engage with our ability to control some aspect of our experience. So we don't get a chance, we can't control our external environment. We can't control losing a job. When we lose a job, we can't go back and say, no, you have to hire me back, or no, this business has to reopen. You can't change that. Just like you also can't change people. You can't change their reactions, and you can't control their actions. But what we can control are our own actions, including the perspectives that we choose to take towards our own life. And this is where we get to come back to the seat of our own personal power, where we get a chance to step back into that control of our life experience. So the card that came out for you as we're thinking about the concept of courage is Surrender to Play. It says, take a break from overthinking a goal. Do something fun. Play is a time of recreation and rejuvenation. And I love this card because so often as we get into our adult lives, we forget that play is actually one of the best ways to not only engage with that sense of joy and happiness that we sometimes can push away, but also it's a way for us to learn about ourselves. So play is not just frivolous for children. When children are playing, they are actually learning about themselves through doing things that distract them from the actual learning process, if that makes sense. So you'll watch kids, interacting with each other, doing something, let's say outside. And as they're doing something outside, they're learning about maybe what they're physically capable of. They're learning about how to share with others, or perhaps how to work in groups. They're learning, maybe if they're outside, learning about nature and the natural world, but without having to sit in a formal classroom and be taught something. They're learning things on an individual basis just through taking action. And that's really what courage is all about, learning about yourself through taking action, but taking action with awareness now as an adult as to who you are. So as you start to understand how your perspective, how you have changed and grown, what you value now, what challenge you're overcoming at this point, what change to your external environment, that you're being asked to kind of go with the flow, to enjoy it, to realize that there are so many opportunities here for you to bring something back into balance and to feel that connection to, just kind of the returning hero, like, wow, I've come through so much, like, let's celebrate a little. And there's this element of when it says take a break from overthinking a goal. It's almost like over here, everybody wants to celebrate with you, and you're looking, it's like you're so looking down the line of like, yes, but I have to achieve that first. I have to, and realize you're just at the start. You're just at the start of this new chapter. And it's going to be one that is going to actually unlock a lot of, I think, great things for you. And so what Spirit's asking you to do is to, as you're finding the courage to take action and go and moving through this change. Really look at it and enjoy it. Enjoy the process. Don't get too caught up looking into the future. Instead, bring it back to the present. And with each and every action you choose to make, really bring it back to, wow, look at how things are changing. And look at what this change has brought in. So this could look, if we bring it back to, let's say, the workplace scenario, maybe you actually have some free time. And you didn't have free time before because you were working around the clock. This can look like, hey, I'm going to schedule that time to like hang out with my friends that I hadn't had a chance to do before. And maybe in doing so, this is where you get to make those connections for somebody else who says, hey, you know what? My workplace is hiring right now. Did you want to apply? You can use me as a reference, or somebody who will connect you to somebody else. Or this is where you get the chance to maybe take that vacation you haven't taken for quite some time, maybe due to COVID or otherwise, but where you get to go out and realize, whoa, I really enjoy doing this and I forgot how much I love doing this specific hobby. Like maybe you go out and you plan a rock climbing trip because way back in the day you used to rock climb and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot how much I loved rock climbing. You know, maybe I'm going to explore this a little bit more. And this is how this is how we engage with destiny, through free will, through choosing to kind of take what comes in and meet it with us actually acting and engaging with destiny. This is where we get a chance to then unlock the best parts of ourselves. So this month and moving into next month and moving through this challenge, it's all about remembering to play, to enjoy this journey, to enjoy this fresh start, because what's coming in for you is going to be amazing. All right, and then we have the last card here for contemplation. And contemplation is where we get to really step into the seat of personal responsibility for the consequences of our actions, and where we get to integrate and reflect on the lessons learned so that we can continue to grow on a spiritual and emotional level to prevent stagnation. Because we get a chance to, through direct experience, just like kids playing, we get to learn something about ourselves. But we have to be ready to reflect on the consequences of those actions. So where we can, if we're not building in contemplation time into every day, where we can become stagnant is when we are just taking action but not actually reflecting on what is the reaction, consequences, and not holding ourselves accountable for making those adjustments. So this can look like being in the same relationship over and over and over again, or being in the same poor work environment over and over and over again, because we're not reflecting on the consequences of where we chose to take action. You know, choosing to enter into relationships with the same person over and over again, or choosing to take action based not from a place of internal awareness of ourselves and the needs of ourselves that we need to meet, or the dreams and the hopes we have for ourselves, or in alignment with our own abilities, but maybe we're choosing to take action to please another, to please a significant other, or a parental figure, or society. And instead of reflecting and saying, whoa, I took action here and that did not align with me, we continue. Ooh, that is way too many cards. Sorry, Scorpio, I'm gonna have to ask that just a few less. One or two, please, Spirit. Instead, if we really step into building in that reflection time, building in that awareness of, okay, I took action on what happened, that's where we get a chance to make those small adjustments in our life and to stay aware, to stay self-aware of, wow, that didn't feel good. But instead of trying to control what's, the other half of that equation, which is the external environment and the people in it, I'm going to bring it back to myself and make the internal change. All right, what's the final card of advice for our Scorpios as they navigate this new change, this kind of freeing. I want you guys to really step into that feeling, to overcome this feeling of anxiety and regret. Step into that feeling of this is freedom. When you think about it, you know, we can cling so much to security and safety, or what we perceive to be security and safety, and that can actually become a burden. That tower that we at one point saw as a castle that we were building can become a prison. And that's why Spirit comes in to shake things up, to help liberate you. So that really focus on that feeling of liberation as you choose to take action this month and moving into next month. So we have 3 cards. Still got a lot of messages, but I'm not going to deny this one here. So we have trust the niggle. What is the niggling feeling trying to tell you? Tapping into your intuition. What part of this whole experience do you know was needed, but that you were too afraid to take that jump without kind of the tower coming in? It says, don't dim to fit in. How are you dimming your light in order to fit in? Again, where have you perhaps been holding yourself back from facing or making this change because you didn't want to stand out and honor your authentic self, which now is actually asking, it's what's going to actually bring in the recognition you deserve, but it's also asking to be recognized by yourself. So there's some part of yourself that you were hiding from, or hiding in engaging with the external environment, that now this whole process is to awaken that part of yourself and to engage it. And then we have boundaries. Where do you need to establish better boundaries? And this can look like, maybe that's why Spirit had to come in with this tower moment, because you were letting too many, you weren't honoring yourself. Basically, boundaries, when we feel that people or workplaces or you name it, encroach on, this is where we start to feel actually anxious, or we can start to feel overwhelmed, is when we don't have healthy boundaries that come from the knowledge of what we value, both about ourselves and our external environment, and we don't have a healthy respect for ourselves. And so this is where we can let ourselves get stretched too thin. This is where we instead realize, okay, instead of seeing our own value as worth this much, for us who don't have that kind of healthy view of what you choose to put out there and what you choose to come back, this is where you can, in a work environment, let's say, have your workplaces kind of keep putting more and more and more work on your shoulders without, let's say, the extra pay or even the extra recognition. But yet you're not valuing yourself, so you kind of just keep taking it and taking it and taking it. Now, somebody who knows their self-worth and their value would be somebody who would not let that happen. Same thing in a relationship. This could be where we keep giving and giving and giving to another who doesn't seem to be responding or providing us with that same level of what we're giving. Now, if we truly knew our self-worth and value in a relationship, we would not allow ourselves to get to that point, because we would stand up for ourselves a long time before that. So these are just good examples and points of contemplation. So really, to kind of go back over these 3 cards, in contemplation and reflection, and taking a look at where you've taken actions in the past, and in reflecting on the consequences of those actions and kind of how you got here versus then what Spirit had to come in and knock down versus what you're facing now as you move forward. There was something that you knew intuitively. There was something here that you knew that wasn't working, wasn't making you happy. What was that? And the next time you feel that again, that's your call to take action. Not to ignore it, but to take action. How are you dimming your light? What part of yourself are you hiding that you knew something wasn't emotionally fulfilling because it wasn't engaging and meeting some core authentic part of yourself. That could be a need, it could be, part of your dream or hope for yourself, or it could be simply that it wasn't engaging some core ability of yours that you really need to bring out. And then boundaries. And where I would ask myself with this question is, where have you not valued some aspect of yourself so that you allowed your boundaries to be broken and led to basically you not being able to feel happiness and fulfillment with some aspect of yourself? Okay, now I'm going to pull just a few clarifier cards here for your energy and your external energy as a final message before we end the reading. And this is just to see if any additional messages want to come out. Sometimes very specific messages for maybe just one or two people comes out. So we'll see. This could just be additional clarification though as to what's coming in here. Okay, so for your energy, we have Judgment. And we have the Eight of Wands. Let's see, what about Justice? Any additional clarifiers? Any additional messages for Justice for our Scorpios for the month of August and beyond? Ooh. Okay, it's this card, 10 of Wands. All right. So we have Judgment and the Eight of Wands. Judgment is very similar to the Tower, very similar energy. This is where, but I always feel that Judgment is kind of like the Tower, but on an internal level. This is where we kind of hear that call, when you think of it, Judgment, let's say in the biblical sense, where you're kind of called up from the dead. And it's that point in our life where there's a massive internal change, where we are being called up to step into a different version of ourselves. And with the Eight of Wands, there's this quality. So Eight of Wands is fast-moving energy. This is fast-moving action. This can actually be an incoming message. This can be you actually either receiving a message or speaking, giving a message. This can also be email communication, technological communication, just because of the speed that comes through with the energy of this card. So there is this quality here of having this internal, that there was some type of communication that came in that led to a big internal shift. So now this could be, if we're bringing it back to the example that I've been using this whole time with work, this could be receiving an email that says, so sorry, your position is no longer, here, you're going to be let go. And that's what created this massive change. Or this can be that there's some other type of communication that came in that suddenly has you questioning who you are at your very core. That's really what Judgment is. It's something that's going to happen so internally on such a deep level that it has you looking at yourself in a totally different light. So there is something here about some type of message that's come in very quickly that has changed that basically has pushed forward. Maybe it was a communication, again, that caused you, maybe you actually had at one point really valued those 8 cups, and that there was some type of quick communication that came through that caused you to have this internal shift that then caused you to question everything that you had up to that point. So this could be finding out about, a significant other cheating on you. This could be about finding out that the company you work with is going out of business. This could be finding out that, the home you work so hard for is you no longer can meet the payment requirements. There's all kinds of things that can come through with this type of, kind of quick communication that leads to this big internal change. And I feel like this is really signifying for some of you what led to you kind of sitting in looking at everything that you had around you with this element of regret, and it changed how you felt. So whatever came through here changed how you felt about your relationship and what you had. And then in your external environment, we have the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands denotes really that final last chapter of the journey of you taking action on behalf of something. And the Ten of Wands denotes carrying a heavy burden. It's where we are saddled basically with feeling like we have to do it all ourselves. And that's kind of what I feel like in general you guys have had to go through, this really kind of deep internal change while meeting true heavy external change and having to do it alone. But that this is ultimately what's coming into balance by all of this happening, by you kind of walking away, choosing to have the strength to meet what was shook up in your external environment. And it's so that you can learn the lesson of where you took on too much, and also to shake you free of that burden, to say you don't have to carry that. You don't have to carry the burden of another. You don't have to carry the burden of being in a workplace where you feel maybe like you're the one doing all the work, especially if you're not feeling emotional fulfillment from what you're doing. Or you don't have to be the one that has to do everything alone. And I think that that's really where the turning point in this is coming from, is that you've been going through a very singular individual journey and facing this. But what it's going to bring you around to realize is that it's actually going to connect you to others. It's going to connect you with others so that they can actually give you the recognition that you need to give yourself. And it's allowing you to unlock your authenticity again. And it's time now that this is what the balance is going to come in. It's going to allow you to release the burdens and realize, I never had to carry that anyways. I get to live for myself. And now that I have this renewed sense of self and self-worth and what I value and the value that I hold in my external environment, what I get a chance to bring to any situation. And now heightened by what I know I'm capable of facing and dealing with, I also know that I don't have to carry any future burden on my own. I can let that go. And I can simply get back to enjoying my life. Really positive message here, Scorpio. I can see that you guys have gone through so much. And again, this could be something where this could be a process where you've gone through this, you've been dealing with this for the past couple of years. And now you're finally getting to this point where you can just be like, woohoo, I'm going to be recognized for all of this. And maybe this change here, maybe this internal change started, again, a while back, but this external change didn't happen until just now. And this is kind of like that last big push to say freedom, freeing you of your burden, or freeing you of what used to be your castle but's now become your prison. And now it's time to just let loose, let go of the anxiety of releasing what you've been actually already going through the process of releasing, and really step into who you are. Step into that heightened version of self-awareness and get excited again. You have a vision for yourself, but don't get so lost in that vision. I know it, when we're going through this energy, we can get so hyper-focused on the future to kind of help make us unaware of what we're leaving behind. But now it's time to come back to the present and to realize you've gone through the change and you've come out successful. And now you get to enjoy being released of this burden, because what's coming in is going to be fun. It's going to be in alignment with yourself, and it's going to capitalize on your singular, authentic self. And you're really coming into this place where you're going to step into and understand your emotional fulfillment. And you're going to also feel, I think, a better sense of belonging. All right, Scorpio, I hope that this has been an illuminating reading. If you'd like to book a personal tarot reading or a one-on-one coaching session, the link to my website's in the description box below. If you are interested, I hope you guys get a chance to check out your other 2 readings, because they're all kind of meant to work as a holistic whole to help you navigate the energies each month. And I hope you just have a wonderful rest of August, Scorpios, and have fun reconnecting and really just stepping into that place of recognition for yourself. Be proud. Be proud of who you are. All right, I look forward to doing your readings in September. Bye, Scorpios.